Accusing police of covering up murder, I'm Brian Lilley with the Rebel.media. We have a minister of the Crown, a minister in Justin Trudeau's Liberal government in Ottawa, accusing police across Canada of covering up murder. The comments come from Indigenous Affairs Minister Carolyn Bennett. Now, I've heard Carolyn Bennett make some loopy comments in the past. Once at a rally, she compared the fight for daycare to the fight for getting abortion in Canada. They're not alike at all, but she said they were just the same in front of a group of kids brought in from a local daycare for the rally. She's also in the past said during one of the flu outbreaks that where she's still practicing medicine, might just tell her patients to hide under the bed until the flu outbreak went away. I can't remember if it was swine flu or bird flu, but it was one of those, and that was what she was saying in front of microphones on Parliament Hill to reporters. Now she is siding with the idea that police have been covering up murder across Canada. We've been talking for a long time about 1,200 missing or murdered Aboriginal women. There have been calls rejected by the Harper government for an inquiry into these 1,200 cases. And now the Native Women's Association of Canada has said, no, it's not 1,200 cases. Between 1980 and 2012, we're talking about 4,000 cases of missing or murdered Aboriginal women. Now, you might hope that a minister of the Crown, someone who has helped call for this national public inquiry into missing and murdered Aboriginal women, might try and say, well, we'll listen to the evidence, we will see, but try and stay the course on having an impartial inquiry. That's not Carolyn Bennett's style, and it hasn't been since she was handed this file. She's accepted this idea of 4,000 cases, but worse than that, she's accepted some of the claims and is repeating them. Listen to her here as she speaks to reporters outside of a cabinet meeting in Ottawa and explains why it's not 1,200, but gives examples of how it's actually much higher. She accuses police of ignoring clear murders and deeming them suicides.
So when you hear the kinds of stories that we've been hearing about someone who died by a shot through the back of her head is called a suicide. Somebody whose arms are tied behind their back is called a suicide. The characterization of accidents, the characterization of is just an overdose. When people know that in that community there were hot shots and people being delivered purposeful overdoses, that you have to say that this is much greater.
Now, I understand that for family members of someone who has killed themselves or been murdered, it's a difficult time. But don't you think that if someone had actually been shot in the back of the head, that it might be difficult for police just to write it off and say, oh, it was suicide and it not go anywhere else? Bennett didn't point to any specific cases. She wasn't asked about any specific cases. In fairness to the media, most of them were just trying to get her to answer a simple question. Does she believe it's 1,200 or 4,000 cases? She wouldn't commit to either, but she should have been asked, aren't you accusing police of covering up murder? That is what she's doing, and that for a minister of the Crown, a minister who is effectively the lead on this push for an inquiry, a public inquiry, that is unacceptable. She's tainted the entire inquiry process from beginning to end with comments like this and others, and she should be removed from her job. Carolyn Bennett is, well, incompetent at best, loopy at worst, and someone who isn't fit to sit at the cabinet table and weigh decisions based on their merits. She's too attached. She is an activist at heart, and she proved it with these comments. Accusing police of covering up murder is no small matter. Carolyn Bennett has a lot of questions to answer to over this.